In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. Both the lesson and the Gospel of the second Sunday of Advent, I think, are of particular import and interest, probably any day, but I would say that in these perilous times, when I think this probably has been one of the most sad and anxious of weeks that we have experienced here in California in some time, and may be particularly useful to us. In the lesson, which is taken from the Hermetic writings, we are reminded of the fact that we need to look in depth at ourselves and what is going on within our own psyche, within our own mind, both for in a positive manner and in a negative manner. And that's, you said, oh, well, everybody knows that. We have to have self-reflection, we have to have self-insight. Yeah, everybody knows it, but hardly anybody practices it. So, it's a very important issue. And it really has to do with the fact that when we are subject to certain experiences and to certain impressions, certain forces of our own mind, we have to look at it. We shouldn't just be satisfied with it happening. Oh, geez, that guy really said something stupid, and so I got mad at him, which I must admit happens to me too. A lot of people talk to me, and some of it is pretty annoying. I admit that. And so forth. So then you have to say, all right, what is it that is really going on? Who is getting annoyed? Is it the real person, or is it sort of the outer shell, the outer personality? And if so, then maybe we can detach ourselves to some extent from the judgments of that outer personality. And if we penetrate deeply enough within, we'll see that there is something there, somebody there, who didn't even get annoyed, and when we come to that one, then things change, and change in a very beneficial manner. So it is a useful thing to look at from various points of view, to take sort of a step back when we have various reactions to what is going on, which are natural. After all, we are here in this world, for better or for worse. Sometimes it looks like for worse, but so we have to have a manner of interior understanding of our own response, of our own reaction, and not be taken over by it. And really connected with that, but on a much more transcendental level, is the really short gospel. It's probably one of two very short gospels that we have in the whole year, this one being from Philip, wherein the metaphor is used that those who sow in the winter don't do very well. Agricultural metaphor, and those who sow and cultivate in the summer, they may sow in the winter, but they don't reap in the winter. So that there is a place and there is a season for addressing ourselves, let's say, to the returns that may come to us from life. And if we put too much, and almost, almost everything is too much. If we put too much emphasis on this aeon, which is the winter, then we don't fare well. Because our investment in this world doesn't pay off anywhere else beyond this world, and doesn't even pay off very much in this world. So we have to restrain ourselves in that respect. This doesn't mean that we should not address ourselves to the tasks that fall to us naturally in this world. We live in a country and an economic system wherein our labors are rewarded, where talent is recognized. No, not every time and not always, but it is. I can assure you there are a lot of places in this world, and I lived in some of them, where they are not recognized. And so certainly a certain reasonable and intelligent engagement with what is taking place in the external world is justified, but not more than that. Why? Because the physical world and all that appertains to it cannot deliver more than that. It hasn't got it in it. And this is the great problem that has not been recognized throughout history. People expect physical things, and more perilously ideas and theories about physical things, to deliver all kinds of things that they are unable to deliver. Happiness, eternal life, or at least a very long and happy life, all kinds of things, and it won't happen because it cannot deliver it. It's not any more than, I don't know, expect your pet dog, no matter how smart he may be, to deliver the entirety of the Gettysburg Address to you in human speech. The poor baby cannot do that. It's not his thing. So we have to recognize that, and therefore we address ourselves to something greater. And we can do that. We have the ability to do that. And when we do so, then I think that our rewards are appropriate. And that is why a materialistic, a secular worldview, a materialistic secular society will never do. Because it ignores the summer of the human spirit. It ignores that area of consciousness where the truly satisfactory, the truly lovely, the truly happy things are. And when we don't recognize their presence and their reality, then obviously we cannot relate to them in a meaningful fashion, and our lives are thereby very greatly impoverished. Every historical period has its own problems, and then there are some problems that run through all of history, of course. But I think one of the problems of the historical period wherein we live is that the reality of the transcendental, the reality of the spirit, is not recognized. Not even by those who pay it lip service. Not even by those many who are in the field of religion. Not even by many clergy. Not even by many leaders of religions. They're not really recognized. Why? You can see by what they are engaged in, what is important to them. It's all worldly stuff, I mean, social workers and people in the fields of charity are doing wonderful things, and they are to be commended. But there must be some people who address themselves to the greater social work, which is the work of the spirit. And without that, nothing much works. And this is what our age is so deficient in. And so we look to the leaders of governments, and perhaps even more disastrously leaders of religion, and what are they concerned with? What do they tell us? Worldly things. Things that somebody else should take care of. So then who is going to do the spiritual work? Well, I'm afraid we will have to do it. We don't have maybe much of the leadership, we don't have much of the guidance. We look to the leadership, and it is talking about other things. It interests itself in the flapdoodle, as modern Blavatsky used to call it. So we have to get away from the flapdoodle and address ourselves to it ourselves. Look, I don't like to be personal about these things, and most of you know me and know my history anyway, and you know, I lived at a fairly early age, in my very early teens. I lived through the downfall and destruction, not just of a country, but of an entire world, of an entire world view, of an entire ambience, physical, spiritual, and otherwise. And I remember it rather well. And I remember also that who were the people in these great calamities who cracked, spiritually cracked, psychologically, and who just basically vanished, many of them, killed themselves, but in various other ways. And they were the ones who were not really anchored in anything deeper. They put their trust in their worldly position, in their property, in their family, in their connections, and things like that. And when those went away, they were nobody and nothing. And they became nothing. But on the other hand, those who have had an anchor in something beyond this world, they survived. And they lived to fight another day the battle of life. And many of them, thank God, had a fairly nice life thereafter. It wasn't the life before the catastrophe, but they still had a life. And one trusts that after this physical life was over, they came to an even greater life with which they had a connection. So Carl Jung said at one time that every soul that is anchored in the divine will succeed in its spiritual destiny. Anchor. Those who are not are cast adrift. And in our era, this is maybe particularly difficult because it's not really part of the culture anymore. Only in a tangential, a little bit more in America than elsewhere, but still. And yet it really has to be. And inasmuch as we don't really get much help, not from the government, not from religion, we have to become our own helpers in this regard. We have to do the work. We have to keep looking for that which is deeper, that which is more enduring, that which has always been and still is and will be, and address ourselves to it, and see its presence within us, dialogue with it, and build the foundation of our activities on that as much as we can. And then, whatever happens, happens. It just happens. It will not destroy us. It will not shake the foundations of our life. It will not throw us into deep depression. it will be just something that is there and that maybe to some extent we experience, but we are still connected with something else, something greater, something more meaningful, something more happy, and that connection will see us through. And in order to do that, we have to begin to think a little more straight. We have to realize, oh yes, something, here are the great gods of the 19th century which still are haunting us. Science, science is always right. You can't disagree with the scientist. Oh, really? Study a little bit of history and see what kind of stupid, ridiculous things scientists and academicians have believed in and propagated in the past. I mean, from a present point of view, it seems preposterous. A lot of the things that the scientists believe in today is going to be preposterous sometime from now. So, all right, we take advantage of it. We know how to turn on the light switch, and we have the doggone computers and different things, all right, we take it. And you know what? All of that business reveals itself as having big, big shortcomings. But there's something that doesn't have a shortcoming. There's something that doesn't have any imperfection. There is something that is never weak, that is never absent. And that is what we have to look at. And when we do, it's a daily work. It doesn't mean that you have to do it constantly. After all, we are not in a monastic order or something like that. But keep it there. Let it be the underlying music of your life. Keeps there. Keeps saying, truth, truth, God, God, gnosis, gnosis. And then the other things are above, the other things that you do, but it is still there. And that rhythm, the rhythm of the eternal, the rhythm of the good, the true, and the beautiful, will allow us to walk through this life, even when we are faltering a bit, our sense of balance is not that good, and we step on the carpet and with the sensor or without it, but something is there. It guides us, it gives us strength, it moves us through, whether we move fast or whether we move slowly, but we will move, and we will move to the goal, we will move to the destiny. And while we are thus moving, we will have a sense of purpose, a sense of reality, and a sense of connection with something that is real. And that is very, very important. In fact, that is all important. Other things are incidental and accidental when compared with that. And so let's maybe keep some of this in mind on this second Sunday of Advent. And if we can keep it in mind and act upon it, it will benefit us, I think, considerably. And so may the mystery of that which hangs fixed heaven and earth descend upon us and remain with us always. Amen.